I'm telling you, post-game show. Terry Ford hanging out. Jay, of course, we were thinking about our buddy Jay Phillips today as he goes through his final round of chemo. And we're hoping everything obviously goes really well for Jay. And we'll hopefully, maybe get him back in here tomorrow.
Yeah. But it's good to be back.
If not, Thursday will be a target. I got to put my earbuds in. Jalen's here. Happy holiday, bud.
Hey, man. Happy New Year.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. Well, I'll be like that guy. I worked with this dude. His name was Paul at a radio station in PA. And Paul was the kind of guy that if you asked him how he was doing, he'd follow you around and tell you. He was that guy. Paul, how you doing? And he turned around like in the hall and go, wow, somebody asked me how I was doing. All right. Well, I got this bunion, or I got this rash, or I got something. Paul always had something. So after a few times I did this, one time, I'm telling a true story. And if I'm lying, may lightning strike Dave in the head. Did I say it out loud? All right, so one day I was sitting there, and he's telling me how he's doing, and I duck in the bathroom real quick. Not that I had to go to the bathroom, but I just wanted to get away from Paul. I walk back out. He's standing right there waiting for me. Like I was saying, I got this bunion. And so I learned never to ever ask Paul how he was doing ever again. From now on, it was like this. Hi, Paul.
Hope you're having a great day.
Paul, good seeing you. It was never, Paul, how you doing? Because he would, and everybody stopped, because he would just stop and tell everybody how he's doing. Obviously, Paul didn't have many people to talk to outside the radio station.
Wow.
Yeah, so. Most of the time you say, how you doing? You go, hey, man, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, and just keep it moving.
Just keep moving,
Keep it short and keep it moving.
Because one of the things I learned is that when people ask you how you're doing, they don't really mean how you doing. They're just like, hey, what's up? It's like saying what's up, right?
Yeah.
How you doing? Don't really want to know the details. Don't need all that TMI. But anyway, I'm glad you had a good holiday, man. Did you run around and see your family, your friends, your people?
Yeah, just basically worked and watched sports. The bowl games were majority of the games were missed, except for the playoff games. Well, the first round of the playoff games were kind of iffy. Oregon blew out, JMU, and then the beatdown that Indiana put on Alabama. It was just, I've never seen anything like that. And then the NFL. My God, the Panthers. My God. The grace of the Atlanta Falcons have put them in the playoffs, and now they got to play the Rams again at home. They haven't had a playoff game in 10 years.
And really, I mean, look, and I'm happy for Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the Panther fans. I'm happy for the city of Charlotte, the people that, follow the team. They haven't been turned off by the idiotic owner. But, I mean, let's face it, they're in the playoffs because they're in the NFC South.
Yeah.
And that thing's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, good for them. They made it to get a home playoff game. I think the Rams are going to smack the taste out of their mouth. But hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see the Panthers get a W. That would be sweet. I'm a Bryce Young fan. I'd love to see good things happen to Bryce Young, so we'll see.
It'll be very, very drastic, or not really drastic. It'll be a big dent on Matthew Stafford's career if he gets out.
Well, the Rams are 50-point favorites. I mean, come on now. Rams are huge favorites, even though they did lose in Carolina earlier this year. To be fair, in a pretty weird game, the Panthers won. So good for Carolina. Happy for them. We'll see college football playoff in the Final Four.
Yep.
We'll get more into that here on the show. If you haven't heard yet, South Carolina has landed another player in the portal. That's number 2. Jordan Thomas, defensive lineman from Georgia. Real quick, if you look at Jordan Thomas, he's a guy that, if you just look at grading, and we always just give you a little Pro Football Focus grades. Not to say it's the end-all, be-all, but it just gives you a snapshot of a player from a scouting perspective. Total defensive grade was at 62.2. 70 is the sweet spot. Thomas below average with a total defensive grade. Run grade at 64.5. Tackling grade, there was a struggle there. Some missed tackles this year, 44.4. Pass rush grade at 64. So, again, below the 70 mark. You heard J.C. Sherbert talking with Bill during the halftime show. J.C. says basically this is a guy with high ceiling, a lot of ability. It just hasn't popped yet for him. Only played 34 total snaps. So a very small snapshot if we're looking at these grades for Jordan Thomas. Again, obviously Georgia talented. Thomas didn't go on the field a ton. But Jordan Thomas coming through the portal to South Carolina, what you're hoping is you get something like you got with Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, who just couldn't stay on the field at Texas A&M because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up at South Carolina, and Brownlow-Dindy had a nice season last year in 2025. So maybe Jordan Thomas can be sort of like that before it's all said and done. We'll see, but that is pickup number 2 out of the portal for South Carolina. And we'll, again, moving forward, we'll find out what goes on. A lot of rumors about visits and this guy's showing up and that guy's showing up. We'll get you caught up on all that as we click and because I got 500 open tabs for this. It's just insane.
Nah, for them to land, another piece defensively is a good get. Adds more competition to the defensive line room.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing Georgia at the end of the year next year. So if he does have a great year in the first year at Carolina, that could be a potential, get back game for him. So, but who knows?
You mean he'd want to have a good game against his former team? You stop yourself.
I mean,
what's up with you? What's up with you over there with that talk?
It depends if he has a great year.
And look, when you kind of take a more of an eyeball into what South Carolina's looking at, interior defensive line with Brownlow-Dindy coming back, obviously a positive. Or we think he's coming back. You never know anymore. Also, Daryl Pikes popped at the end of the year. I believe Devontae Miles still has eligibility off the top of my head because you get Troy Pikes was good, especially the last couple of games. He really started to come along. I think Miles has. I got to double check.
I'm looking now.
Look now and see if he has it. Because I'll be honest with you, I used to know eligibility.
He's a redshirt junior.
Okay, so he does have eligibility.
Yes.
So if those guys come back, you get a Jordan Thomas, and if you could get yourself that rotation and mix that you've had the last couple of years in the interior of the defensive line, that would be a really good thing. So we will see moving forward, but adding Jordan Thomas to the depth of the interior defensive line, not a bad thing for South Carolina. Also, there have been visits. We know that Jaden Gibson, we're going to talk about Jaden Gibson here in a little bit. I talked to someone in Norman, Oklahoma about Jaden Gibson. We're going to get to that in the next segment of the show. Jaden Gibson obviously commits to South Carolina out of the portal, the wide receiver from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have been told about visits. Running back Nate Palmer from TCU, a freshman last year. Palmer didn't get a ton of run. Did get some. Carried the ball like 30 sometimes. 4.5 yards a carry, 3.5 yards after contact. Smaller guy, like 5'10", but over 200 pounds. Ran track in high school, so like 11 plus in the 100. I mean, that's not David Dare time, but it's okay. So he's a guy that has a bunch of eligibility left if he does end up at South Carolina. But Nate Palmer with a visit. Carter Miller, a junior from Central Florida, center, came in. If you look at his grades, blocking overall 60.2, 61.3, run blocking 65.5, pass protection. Again, 70 is a sweet spot in Pro Football Focus. Miller did not give up any sacks, did give up 16 pressures and 352 pass plays. So Carter Miller, Central Florida, has visited. Folks scheduled for visits or have visited include 2 LSU offensive linemen, Paul Mubenga, sophomore, DJ Chester, a sophomore. Mubenga, overall blocking grade of 54.2, really struggled run blocking at 45.0, but good in pass protection at 75.4. DJ Chester, last year was a struggle all the way around, about a 50 grade overall blocking, 54.5 run, 43 pass blocking, but a guy who does have some potential. Hank Purvis of Purdue will be a visit here soon. I think today was supposed to be the scheduled visit. Hank Purvis, a sophomore. All 3 of these offensive linemen we're talking about are sophomores. Purvis, 64 run block grade. We're sophomores this past year, I should say. 64.1 run block grade for Purvis. Overall 64.1, 61.3 run blocking, but an above average pass protector at 71.6. Bryant Williams from Louisiana, another offensive tackle. Williams, just under 70, a 69.2 overall grade, 70.3 run grade, 66.4 pass protection grade. So those are the offensive linemen who either come in or are scheduled to be in for visits. And then you throw in the running back, Nate Palmer, from TCU. Again, did not play a lot last year, but a lot of upside. A four-star kid coming out of high school. So that's the latest on the visitations for South Carolina, or possible visitations at this point. And again, Jordan Thomas from Georgia announcing he will play his college this year at South Carolina, transferring from Georgia. And we'll keep you up to date on all this. Look, does South Carolina need a ton of offensive linemen? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The room is bare. Do you also, would you like to see South Carolina get another running back? Sure. Another wide receiver, already added that. We're going to get to that in a little bit as well. You also would like to see, you need some secondary help. You lost two guys in the NFL draft. Another guy is done with his eligibility. You got to get some reinforcements there. Maybe add another tight end before it's all said and done. So a lot of work is what I'm saying, Jalen. A lot of work still needs to be done.
It's a tall task in a short amount of time with a window that is closing by the minute. People will continue to get in the portal, and a lot of work will still be made. It's do or die. That's like I've always been saying. It's a do or die time right now for Carolina fans and for the Carolina football team.
I mean, you're coming off a 4-8, which obviously is not acceptable. You got a lot of holes to fill, especially up front on the O-line. The good news is you've added what I think is a high-level offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Who brought his own offensive line coach. The other thing about this offensive line stuff, I'm going to give you these grades from Pro Football Focus, but remember, Kendall Browse, the offensive coordinator, wants to play fast, wants an up-tempo offense. Yeah, so you're going to need offensive linemen who can play fast and can play to a tempo. So that's another thing. Maybe we're looking at grades of guys, but maybe the guys we're talking about will fit better in the offensive system that Kendall Browse wants to run. Sometimes system fit is very important when it comes to anything. A lot of players. Some guys can play in any system because they're just God-given. But most players will thrive better in certain systems that fit their skill set and their abilities. So that's something we got to keep in the back of our head, our skull, as we talk about these offensive linemen coming in. Do they better fit the system of offense that could be run by South Carolina?
Do you think they could land the TCU running back?
Well, he didn't get a lot of snaps last year. He seems like he's a 4-star kid. He's got some speed. He averaged 3.5 yards after contact. I think they can, because I don't think he's going to get like crazy offers because he didn't play a whole lot, but he does have a lot of eligibility. Do I like what South Carolina has, already on the roster when it comes to running backs? Yes. I have been a big fan of the two young guys. All last year was like the more they played, the more I liked them and like what they bring to the table. And I think I have potential, especially, look, I've always been a Jordan Howell fan.
Yep.
I really am. I think Matthew Fuller, there's something there. But Howell, I like Howell. I like to see him get more touches. But I think that because Palmer is probably not going to cost you a ton of money, let's just be honest, they have a shot at Palmer. Yeah. I do believe. I will come back. I did I got an opportunity to talk about the Oklahoma wide receiver who is now transferring to South Carolina. And I talked to someone in Oklahoma about it, and I'll let you know what they told me. That's next. Jalen Tartt's here, punching the buttons. Terry Ford. Jay will be back in the next couple of days. He's getting his final chemotherapy treatment. And we are the post-game show, and we go till 6 on the game. All right, post-game show again. Our buddy Jay getting his final round of chemotherapy today. Probably Thursday we'll get Jay back. Jalen's here punching the buttons. Terry Ford, we go till 6 here on the game. So Jaden Gibson was the first transfer portal get for South Carolina. 6'5", 197, tall, skinny guy. Coming from Oklahoma where he hasn't played the last 2 years. But his second season with the Sooners only caught 14 balls, but for almost 30 yards a catch and 5 touchdowns. So he made plays in his time. Just didn't get a lot of run. Last 2 years has been hurt. Has, moved on from Oklahoma. Left the program before the end of the season. Now, what I was told today, I talked to a buddy of mine who is very familiar with Gibson and his time at Oklahoma. What I was told by this person who I trust with the information was that Gibson has a ton of ability. Like his high school tape, I was told was freakish.
Off the charts.
6'5", big catch radius, a lot of jump ball stuff, a lot of deep stuff, a lot of post routes where they just threw it up there and he'd snag it. Good hands. Runs, for a guy that size, runs well. Not like Nick Harbor, but runs well. Doesn't do a lot of the route tree at this point. That's a little raw, but a ton of physical ability. And I always say this, Jalen. Here's my number. There's 2 things about receivers I care about, and then the other stuff is whatever. 1, can you get open? And 2, when you get open and they throw it to you, can you catch it?
The ball, yep.
Besides, I don't care about your vertical. I don't care about your shuttle run. I don't care how many times you can bench press a tractor tire. I don't care about any of that mess. I care about, can you get open? And when they throw it to you, can you catch it? And this young guy, Gibson, when they threw it to him, according to what I was told, he catches it. That's a good thing. And he'll be a big target. But the problem is staying healthy. For the last 2 years, he's been hurt. And that's been an issue. And so when you've been hurt for 2 years, again, there are times where that becomes an issue with you and the coaching staff, and how are you rehabbing? Are you around the team? Are you not around the team? How are you coming along? Sometimes the team thinks you should be farther along than you are, blah, blah, blah. Could some of that stuff come into play here, too, at his time at Oklahoma? Sure. But from what I was told, Gibson, good kid, good family, no big red flags off the field. The biggest problem was injuries. So if this guy can stay healthy,
it's going to be a problem going having Nick Harbor 6'6", and then you having a 6'5" receiver.
If you could have another guy to go with Harbor, another big receiver, to your point, that would be fantastic. The key is, though, maybe putting this guy in bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And then getting him to the field. Like, put him in one of those big Pope-mobile-looking things and bubble wrap and then drop him off the field every Saturday.
I've just been seeing a lot of buzz about him on Twitter. I've never seen his tape prior to him getting, committing to Carolina, but I've been seeing a lot of the hype on Twitter, on the internet. But if, for him to have, 14 catches, 5 touchdowns, and then for his freshman season to have a solid production that year, I mean, who knows? I mean, he's probably in a place where he's starting from the bottom all over again, learning how to make his way to the top. And I think that could be his reset coming here.
I mean, I think he just obviously needed a new, fresh start.
Then you got the Beamer connection, too.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, and it's one of those things where, again, this happens in a lot of different places where a guy comes in, 4-star kid, sometimes 5-star kids, and it just doesn't work for whatever reason. Injuries sometimes are the thing, or different guys learn in different stages and develop in different ways. This one is an injury thing. And again, if Gibson can stay healthy, there's a lot of potential and ability here. So we'll see. But I heard a lot of good stuff about him. The biggest problem has been getting him on the field because of the injuries. So we'll see. But that was what I got, the word, from someone who I trust. I wouldn't talk about it on the air if I didn't trust the person give me the info.
Right.
But Jaden Gibson, that basically is the skinny there. Is a lot of ability, good hands, You throw it up there, he can get it. Big catch radius. Runs pretty well for a guy his size. And just can't stay on the field because of injuries. All right, so that's what picked up on Jaden Gibson. All right, post-game show with Terry Ford. Jalen's here. Jay hopefully will be back on Thursday with us. Coming up here in a few minutes, Dimitri Ravenos from Awful Announcing wrote a very interesting post at Dimitri, and I want to come back to it here. It was about the SEC and college football. The SEC is getting dumped on a lot when it comes to what's been going on this postseason. And Dimitri said the SEC narrative, is what he called it, is good for college football. And we'll talk to Dimitri about that. Look, I get that the SEC doesn't look as dominant as it's been in the past.
Yeah.
Two things here, though, and I say this about any conference. Just blankly looking at a bowl record makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these teams have guys who are leaving for the NFL draft, leaving for the transfer portal. You know, like last year, remember South Carolina going to the Citrus Bowl? Mm-hmm. You know, you had no Kyle Kennard. You had no Rocket Sanders, two guys who were very vital to your success. Nick Eamon played one half.
Yep.
So when you look at these teams winning and losing, you got to take a deeper dive and say, okay, who did this team lose? And how much did it affect them? How much of this team in a bowl game is the same team that was successful in the regular season? I just think looking at bowl records blankly just makes no sense.
Then they're getting that long extended time off after the last game of the regular season. It's kind of hard to judge because, you know, you're not getting that momentum that you had where you were playing week in and week out, and then you get a week's long of rest, and then you have to play within the next week or within the holiday season.
And sometimes you're using a different team in some ways.
Yeah.
So, again, just blankly looking at bowl record I think is kind of a lazy take. But if you look deeper and say, okay, this team still had a lot of their key players and lost, okay, then you can say something there. And look, when it comes to winning the championship or winning a championship, you know, the SEC last year did not have a team in the college football championship game. This year they might if Ole Miss can beat Miami.
Yeah.
But it's not Georgia. It's not Alabama. It's not LSU. And it's just a different world.
The NIL.
Yeah, NIL and the transfer portal has really leveled the playing field. Now everybody's getting paid, baby.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a criticism. That's life. But now, with the money out in the open, it changes the dynamic as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so at the end of the day, everything has been changed and flipped upside down. And I said this yesterday. Also, guess what? The greatest coach in the history of college football retired.
Yep.
Alabama was a bleeping
it was
dynasty.
A machine, man.
And they just, I mean, with a lot of the SEC success, not all of it, but a lot of it on the big stage was Alabama. Yeah, Georgia won 2, LSU's won 1, Auburn back in Cam's time won 1, and no one's saying that it's just Alabama, but Alabama did most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Over the last 15 years.
Because that was all that you were seeing.
Yep, and now guess what? Hey, guess what? I think if you were teetering on what Alabama is now, you purely saw it the last game they played.
Yeah.
By the way, Indiana just scored again. I mean, what Indiana did to Alabama should have been rated R.
And that was on one of the grandest traditional stages in college football history. And for me, having more rushing yards than an opponent's total yard number is insane. So we could potentially see the emergence of Cignetti being this generation's Nick Saban. He's on his way.
Cignetti's doing is incredible. All right, Dimitri Ravenos, we'll talk about his post and Awful Announcing about the talk about the SEC is a good thing. We'll yap with Dimitri next here on the post-game show. Jalen's steering the ship. Terry Ford, we go till 6 on the game. All right, time to talk. Our bud, Dimitri Ravenos from Awful Announcing. You're still there, right?
I am here, yes. Oh, at Awful Announcing.
Yeah,
yes,
you're still there, right? Just checking on
they
you.
have not fired me yet.
I'm just checking on you.
Yeah. No, I understand.
I mean, I've known you for a long time, so that's why I'm checking.
I hope he didn't get fired, Terry.
I mean, I've known Dimitri for years. I trust nothing when it comes to this. But anyway.
Yeah, listen, I am something of a media nomad.
Hey, that's the best way I've ever heard it. That was good. That was actually good. I'm a media nomad.
Jesus, Terry, I've known you for years. How you have not described yourself that way yet is beyond me.
Hey, honestly, I really, this post you put up was really good about, and the title is The SEC Narrative is Good for College Football, because obviously the SEC is so polarizing. The rest of the college football world is dying, to get their shots in on the SEC after this, almost 15 years of dominance. So with all the SEC piling on, why do you think this narrative is so good for the game?
Well, I mean, let's start with the people that cover the game, right? Like, boy, does the SEC not make Danny Cannell and Joel Klatt and everybody else's job easy, right? Like, when the SEC is having a down year like this year, those guys can just put it on autopilot. I also think that some of the narrative about the best conference in college football, look, that wasn't true this year. It might have been the deepest. It probably wasn't the best, but these narratives take a long time to die off. I don't mind people getting annoyed with it. What bothers me are the people that get paid to cover this sport at the national level that have made it their entire personality.
No, well, that's Danny Cannell's life.
Wait, what?
That's Danny Cannell's life that the SEC stinks.
Exactly. That is. I made the joke in the column that like I'll give you an example. Let's take it back to the '90s. Remember the New Radicals? You get what you give.
Oh, jeez. Wow, you're old.
Right. All right. So, Terry, you worked in music radio, and you remember when record labels used to say, hey, we'll give you this band for a free concert. Mm-hmm. When I was working at alternative radio, we got New Radicals. And guess what? They opened with You Get What You Give, and they closed with You Get What You Give because they've got nothing else. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Danny Cannell and, quote, no, the SEC sucks, actually.
That's so good. Dimitri Ravenos from Awful Announcing hanging out with us on the post-game show on the game. Look, one of the things about, the SEC, I mean, if Ole Miss loses, it'll be 2 years in a row the SEC hasn't had a team in the national championship game. That's where a lot of the, SEC hate will go, hey, 2 straight years you have a team playing for the title. And look, Florida's won multiple titles. LSU has won multiple titles. Auburn with Cam got a title. Georgia's got a couple. And Nick won about 50 at Bama.
Right.
And a lot of the SEC domination, not all of it, but what took the SEC even to another level when it came to the big stage was Nick Saban's domination of the big stage. And now Nick is retired. And I think the SEC... I mean, this year you got Ole Miss who's in the semifinal, not Georgia and Alabama. We won't speak of what happened to Alabama because, I don't want to make you sad. But
sure,
it's just the idea that so much of this also is related to Nick Saban and now the SEC. It's a deep league. It's a lot of good teams, but you don't have the hammer anymore, man. Not the consistent hammer.
Well, and the other thing, too, is part of, obviously, yes, Nick was a great game day coach, but also Nick was a great recruiter, built up a staff of great recruiters, and could stack 5-star on top of 5-star on top of 5-star. That was a time before the transfer portal. That was a time before NIL. That was a time before a school like Indiana could go to these kids that were not seeing the field at be they SEC, ACC, or other Big Ten schools and say, hey, we've got a spot for you right now and build a winner that way. I don't think that has made college football worse. It has certainly changed college football, and that means that everybody is having to adapt to the new normal. And eventually, we'll get to a point, if things stay this way, we'll get to a point where the SEC dominance narrative maybe not dies off, but quiets down a little bit. But the thing that I think that so many of these people hold on to is something that is simply not true at the top level of the SEC. You said you don't want to make me sad about what happened to Alabama. I went to the University of Alabama. Guess who I'm rooting for when Ole Miss plays Miami? I'm rooting for a bomb to fall on the stadium because the last thing I want to see is another SEC fan base be happy.
I love that you admit that. I'm like that too. I don't automatically root for the conference my favorite team plays in, the division my favorite team plays in. Sometimes I want to see those people get the hell beat out of them. So I don't disagree with you at all on that, Dimitri. The other thing you brought up I thought was interesting was a lot of what we see now, and you see it all over social media, and it's from the media, is this, well, ESPN always does everything for the SEC because of Disney, and everybody's in bed with each other because of business and TV contracts. And you bring up some interesting points about that as well in your piece.
Well, number one, of course Disney is going to do all it can for the SEC because they are in business with each other. It's called business. That is how it works. But the other side, and I think what you're talking about, is that Fox is guilty of this for the Big Ten. The only difference is ESPN will do this for all of the SEC, whereas Fox will only do this for Michigan and Ohio State. And occasionally they'll throw Penn State and Oregon a bone. I pointed this out in the piece. Both College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff, Fox's pregame show, both of them travel every single week, 14 weeks this year. Of those 14 weeks, Big Noon Kickoff came to us from the site of either Michigan or Ohio State's game 8 times. The only time they covered Indiana, or I should say, they only covered Indiana one time when it was not them playing Michigan or Oregon.
How's that Indiana team doing, Dimitri?
They're pretty damn good, aren't they, Terry?
We know the reason behind it, obviously, is because Ohio State and Michigan are these big brands. TV ratings are top heavy to those two schools, so Fox follows them everywhere. We get it. But to your point, Fox does it too, but they do it on an even higher level because, let's face it, not to be mean, the Big Ten has chased all these big markets, but in a lot of these big markets, the people who live in those big markets don't care about those college football teams in the Big Ten because they're like pro towns.
You are from Maryland originally. When was the last time you thought about Terps football?
Exactly. I mean, Baltimore and Washington care about the Ravens and the Commanders. Half of them don't know Maryland has a football program.
Right.
To be fair.
Right, exactly. I think the other part, too, that needs to be mentioned is whether it is effective propaganda or maybe just unnecessary propaganda. But part of the reason that ESPN touts the SEC is because more people are watching. Every single year you have, of the top 5 most watched teams, it is usually Ohio State and 4 SEC teams. There is just a deeper roster of properties that ESPN can draw from when it comes to promoting its top-line games when you're in bed with the SEC.
Dimitri Ravenos from Awful Announcing hanging out with us, talking about his post about the SEC narrative is good for college football. The last thing you bring up is Greg Sankey. Please explain.
I get it. He is very annoying. I understand that point of view from people outside the SEC. But to be annoyed and draw attention to the SEC is his job. If you think he is bad at his job, it is because you don't know what his job is.
Right.
I totally get it. There are things Greg Sankey says about the SEC deserving 7 college football playoff bids that make me roll my eyes too. But that is what the money is for, to quote Don Draper.
Mm-hmm. By the way, who pays Greg Sankey?
The schools in the SEC.
Right. His job is not to help.
I'm sure he will argue on behalf of Notre Dame when Notre Dame wants to cut him a check.
Right. That's my point. It's like, who signed your check? Exactly.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. And see, that's polar opposite to Jim Phillips at the ACC, who will do what Notre Dame wants, despite the fact that Notre Dame will never join the conference in football.
Never, ever, ever. It's a great post, man.
Right.
Really good reading. Dimitri Ravenos from Awful. And you're still with Awful Announcing, right? It's been like 10 minutes. You're okay?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I do have to check my text messages when we get off the phone, though.
Always good hanging out with you, bud. I hope you had a good holiday and everything, man. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Keep sending me stuff. Dimitri Ravenos from Awful Announcing hanging out with us. We'll pop back in here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, Jalen Tart here. Appreciate Jalen coming in and helping us out today. We will spin back and, well, the men take the court for South Carolina tonight in Baton Rouge. We'll discuss that next here on the postgame show on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston. All right, the South Carolina men traveling to Baton Rouge tonight. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia at 107.5 and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach at 100.3 The Game. LSU 7.5-point favorite at home versus the Gamecocks. LSU is going to attack South Carolina in the paint and at the rim, inside the three-point line. LSU is a top 15 team in two-point field goal percentage. They don't chuck a ton of threes. They're about average at hitting them, about 33%, but they're going to go after you in the paint and at the rim. South Carolina's weakness, defense, especially in the paint at the rim. So that's the big key to me is, can South Carolina do anything to slow down LSU inside? Yes, LSU is going to be missing their second leading scorer, DJ Thomas, and their leading assist guy. But
and LSU's undefeated at home.
Yeah,
perfect 8-0.
Yeah, and they're just matchup wise, it's a bad matchup for South Carolina on their defensive end of the court because LSU will attack the South Carolina major weakness, which is the interior defense. That's going to be a huge thing tonight.
Yeah, and can they slow down LSU scoring? You know, them averaging almost 88 points a game, and Carolina barely averages before 70.
LSU is a top 35 offense in efficiency.
Yeah.
They are going to get theirs. Can you slow them down enough, and can you get yours? South Carolina on offense, again, we have this conversation. They want to chuck a ton of threes. 48% of their shots are from three. That's 30th in the country. They're 291st in the country in making those threes. That's bad.
Yeah.
But here's the good. Ready? 2-point shots. 2-point field goal percentage. South Carolina's 8th in the country. Free throw percentage. South Carolina's 6th in the country. South Carolina's good at making twos and making free throws.
So
not making
to the
threes.
Foul line is basically what you're getting at.
Yeah, so the point is, part of why South Carolina is so good inside the three-point line is because they spread teams out because South Carolina wants to shoot threes, so the defense is spread. They can't help. They can't switch. They can't do – it's a lot of space for you to operate. My thought is this. Do not stop what you're doing with your system of offense, but just attack the basket more. That's where you're good. You're good at making shots inside the three-point line. You suck at making them at the three-point line.
Yeah.
I'm not saying stop shooting threes. I'm saying maybe as you spread teams out because you want to shoot threes, use that to your advantage and attack more. Get into the lane more. Get to the basket more. Get to the free throw line more. Start playing more to your advantages as you set up this offense. You know, kind of make an adjustment.
Yeah.
And start to maybe go at the basket more and, you know, attack the interior more and get to the line. I mean, look, Lamont Paris, that was the game plan against Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt fouls everybody. And South Carolina just didn't do it.
Yeah. And then they got paid. They paid the price with Vanderbilt coming down, and one of the top 3-point shooters in the country just kept drilling threes. On you. Like, they couldn't do anything about it.
It's just, you know, South Carolina in that game, and Lamont said they weren't aggressive enough. And it's just one of those things where when you are in your mind, you're a three-point shooter or you want to be a three-point shooter, right? So that's what you do. That's your go-to. You get to the three-point line. You're looking to chuck from the three-point line. You're getting your feet set or whatever you're doing to get yourself in position to score. You're not thinking about, you know, when a guy's running at you, a defender at the three-point line, you're not thinking, well, hell, he's running at me. I'm going to pump fake him and go by him and go to the basket. Or I'm going to catch this ball here, and when they're defending the three, I'm now going to, you know, drive by him. No, your thought is to shoot a three. That's just who you are. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you're a play ball, guys who shoot threes, they go right to the three-point line. That's their bag. That's their game. They don't use a lot of the court. They don't move a lot. They are always hovering around the three-point line. So now you're trying to get them, and Lamont's not wrong. But you got to get these guys thinking, all right, now teams are scouting you as shooting a ton of threes. Now you have to adjust, and you have to now use that against the opposing defense and start getting to the basket and getting to the line.
It for me, watching the offense, it reminds me of 2015, 2016, 2017, the Houston Rockets, where they would always shoot the three-point shots. And as the old saying goes, you live by the three, you die by the three. If you're not making a whole bunch of three-point shots, you're not going to – one, the percentage is not going to be good. And two, you're giving the other team a chance to convert off of your miss to get points. And that's what we're seeing. Yeah,
it's like, look, I get what Lamont wants to do regarding this team is that, we're going to shoot a lot of threes. But, I mean, when you are 291st in the country and making three-pointers, that's really bad.
Yeah.
That's not just kind of bad or a little bad or sort of bad. No, that's really bad and really is capitalized.
The whole word is all caps, not just the R.
Yes. So that's tonight. Hopefully South Carolina can get it going offensively and do enough guarding on the defensive side of the court to pull a W out against LSU. We'll talk more about it coming up later in the show. Top of the hour, get you caught up on what's going on with South Carolina football in the transfer portal. That is next on the post-game show on The Game. Post-game show, Jalen making sure we stay on the air. Terry Ford, no Jay today. We're hoping Jay will be back on Thursday. Our buddy is going through round number 4, his final round of chemo. So we figured, today, after this, tomorrow will probably be take it easy and recover from today, and then we'll get Jay back on Thursday. That's the hope. We'll see where it's going. And thanks. Got a couple of really nice emails to me to forward to Jay. We appreciate you reaching out to Jay and giving him your thoughts and hopes and prayers and wishes and everything to that nature while Jay goes through what he is at this time. So thanks a lot. We do appreciate it. All right, so South Carolina in the portal. Today, South Carolina lands Jordan Thomas, interior defensive lineman from Georgia. Thomas, again, didn't play a ton in 2025. If you look at the scouting grades in Pro Football Focus, and he played less than 40 snaps. Grades in the 60s. So, again, a guy with a lot of potential and upside, 4-star coming out of high school, will now get a chance at South Carolina to see if he can step it up to another level. And the hope is he'll go into some kind of rotation with Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, also Troy Pikes. Devontae Miles still has eligibility. Don't check on some things there. But so if Thomas can, come in, start reaching or getting close to reaching that potential, if nothing else, hopefully a nice rotation piece on the interior defensive line for South Carolina. We shall see. South Carolina did lose someone in the portal. Jalen Brown, the edge from Missouri, who was hurt all year, has jumped into the portal. It'd been nice to keep him, see what he's got. 4-star kid coming out of high school, left Missouri after 1 year. But Brown has decided to jump into the portal. I saw this little interesting note on the old internet. Offensive coordinator Kendall Briles has been in contact with Malachi Marshall, a JUCO prospect. Matter of fact, he is looked at as the number 1 ranked junior college quarterback in the class of 2026 as Marshall. He did his high school football in Rock Hill at South Point. He's also been offered by Kent State and Marshall, Eastern Kentucky, Central Arkansas, also interested. Some other schools have been in contact, like Florida State, Memphis, Southern Miss, UAB. Again, this would be obviously someone to come in to possibly back up Lenora Sellers. But Malachi Marshall, according to Big Spur, matter of fact, has been talked to by Kendall Briles. So that's where everything's at right now with some of the transfer news. There are visits, obviously. Some of the visitors, Josh Manning, wide receiver, Missouri. Carter Miller, offensive lineman, Central Florida. Carter Miller, by the way, I think we talked about this earlier. His Pro Football Focus numbers, under 70, 60.2 overall, 61.3 run blocker, 65.5 pass protector, give up 16 pressures and 352 pass plays, but 0 sacks. So he has been in for a visit. Also, January 5th, according to what's in front of me, Nate Palmer, running back TCU, 2 offensive linemen from LSU, DJ Chester and Paul Mubenga, have shown up today, the 6th. The scheduled visitors were Hank Purvis, offensive lineman, Purdue. Nitro Tuggle, wide receiver from Purdue, with just a cool name. Randy Pittman Jr., tight end, Florida State. Bryant Williams, offensive lineman, Louisiana, either today or tomorrow. Drew Collins, edge from Arkansas State, tomorrow. Later in the week, Josh Sapp, tight end from Clemson. That's kind of the way it is. Also, Grant Segrin, offensive lineman, Oklahoma State. That visit to be determined. So I get you caught up on what's going on there regarding all the visitations that could be happening. Look, Ole Miss, Miami, college football playoff game Thursday. Winner will play for the championship, and they'll get whoever survives the Indiana-Oregon game. A lot of Ole Miss news. Kevin Smith, the running backs coach, Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator, who left Ole Miss to go to LSU, will be back this week to coach up Ole Miss for the college football playoff game against Miami. Of course, Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator / play caller. Smith, the running backs coach. Not the whole crew that was here last week, but still, you have the vital piece as the offensive coordinator / play caller. So Ole Miss will get those guys back. Kejuan Lacey, according to sources, the Ole Miss running back will come back to the Grove next year to play for the Rebels. And Trinidad Chambliss, who is putting in for another year of eligibility. Who knows if he gets it or not? This stuff's so goofy. I got nothing. I don't know. Trinidad Chambliss, this is cut 3, Jalen. Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, talks about his decision to return to Ole Miss pending that waiver. Again, cut 3.
Yeah, I made that decision last night, very late. Talked to my agent and my family, and, it was the best decision. It was the best situation for me. And, I owe it to Ole Miss, Ever since I got here, from the moment I got here, on my visit in May or in April, it just felt like home. And, they just embraced me as a community and just, loved my family. And it just felt like home since I got.
There's a pull to it, and obviously they're going to pay him to stay if he gets the waiver. There was some smoke that maybe Trinidad Chambliss would leave Ole Miss and go to LSU to go back with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr., and I'm sure LSU, he wasn't going there for free either. But if it's all said and done, I get Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss is going to make it worth his while financially. That's the place that gave him a chance. I mean, remember, this cat comes from Ferris State, right? And to be fair, this is one of the best stories, if not the best story of college football this year when it comes to a player. Comes in from Ferris State, and really he was brought in to back up Austin Simmons, who was being groomed to be the next quarterback at Ole Miss. Now that Jackson Dart had finished up. Well, Simmons was early in the year, got hurt, and, they just put Trinidad Chambliss in the game because he's the backup. And Chambliss just took off, had a phenomenal year. What Chambliss did in that college football playoff quarterfinal against Georgia was just stupid filthy. The throw to set up the game-winning field goal was just phenomenal. And sometimes when all things are being equal to a point, you do feel some loyalty to the people who gave you the chance. And I'm sure Trinidad Chambliss is sitting around saying, okay, I'm here, I'm comfortable, they gave me my shot, I like where everything's going with the coaching staff that's going to be here, I'm all in, what the heck, let's do it. If Trinidad Chambliss gets the waiver. And again, who knows, man? Who knows? It feels like he should when you look at the eligibility stuff, but, with the NCAA, you never know. You just don't know.
I think he should.
I mean, it feels like he was hurt one year, right, at Ferris State.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like he's exhausted all of his years. So he should get another year, but again, who knows with the NCAA. I really think the NCAA just pulls decisions out of a hat. They just make up stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it ever. But we'll see. Speaking of Ole Miss, we talked about how Charlie Weiss Jr. and Kevin Smith will come back from LSU to coach for the Rebels in the college football playoff. Before that announcement today, let's get cut 4 real quick. Jalen, here's Pete Golding, the head coach at Ole Miss, on the status of the guys from LSU coming back to the Grove to help the Rebels in their semifinal game against Miami.
Okay, so just to be perfectly clear, every staff member you have who is employed by LSU will continue to coach with Ole Miss through the national championship.
They have every opportunity like they have up to this point, right, to be able to make that decision. So week in and week out, I don't dictate whether they do that or not because they're not employed by me. Up to this point, that is how it's been, and that's my expectation.
So now we know that Charlie Weiss Jr., the OC play caller, and Kevin Smith, the running back coach, will return. And look, this thing is so insane and ridiculous, isn't it? It just is.
Yeah.
It's just, this stuff is so crazy. It's like some bad sitcom on Netflix. But this calendar has to get fixed. And, look, do you, and even though I don't want to, give Lane Kiffin the attaboys to let these guys come back and coach? Yeah, for whatever reason, Lane did it. But here's the thing, Jalen, they have to keep coming back until this thing's over. They just do. I know. Look, I understand the transfer portal. I understand that they work for LSU. I understand Lane's got to, have those guys in Baton Rouge to help acquire talent. I get it. But you've opened this door to let these guys coach for Ole Miss. You can't shut that door until this thing's over.
Yeah, it's literally a bad divorce that we're literally seeing unravel before our eyes each and every week. The longer Ole Miss stays in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for an Indiana-Ole Miss final. Nothing against Oregon, nothing against Miami, because I can't lose with that story. If Indiana wins, it's a great story because of Kurt Signetti. If Ole Miss wins,
that's something we've never seen before, ever.
And if Ole Miss wins, there's two parts to that. If Ole Miss wins, that'll be great. But then I hope Lane Kiffin never makes the college football playoff at LSU.
Yeah,
I think that if the football gods are truly real, and karma is really a thing, that's what will happen. And I'm hoping.
But to beat that Miami defense,
it's really good, man. I mean, Ruben Bain has gone like nuts.
I did say that they could go all ice. They could go all the way.
Well, here's two things that have happened here to the credit of you in Miami is A, Carson, our boy, the quarterback.
Carson
Beck hasn't done anything stupid, hasn't made the mistakes he can make. And B, Mario Cristobal hasn't done anything stupid that he usually does in-game decision-making. And because Mario Cristobal has done well and Carson Beck has done well, and they haven't hurt the team, they're playing to that defense, which is insane. Bain has like 4 sacks and, 16 pressures in 2 games or something crazy? Or I think the whole team might have that. I think they have 12 sacks in 2 games. That defense has gone nuts, and Miami's running the ball really well. And so, again, if Carson Beck doesn't do anything stupid, Mario Cristobal doesn't do anything stupid, Miami has a heck of a chance to win. But I'll say this. Trinidad Chambliss has not been stopped this year by anybody except Georgia in the fourth quarter of the first game they played. That's going to be fun to watch.
Yes.
Because Miami's going to get after Chambliss, and what does Trinidad Chambliss do when he's got to go off script and just start riffing?
We got to see him do a Patrick Mahomes run around lap in the backfield.
It's going to be fun, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun game Thursday. So, Charlie Weiss will be back, and Kevin Smith will be back to help out Ole Miss. I appreciate you hanging out with us here as we roll the post-game show with Terry Ford, Jalen Tarts hanging out with us. Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News will hop in at 5:15. She will open the Gamecock notebook for us. In our next segment, more NFL news. Cliffy is moving on again. What does that mean? We'll get into that next here on the post-game show with Jalen and Terry till 6 on the game. Just laughing. Sorry. I just saw a great, because I love ProFootballTalk.com. I just saw a headline, and I haven't read it yet. Cleveland Brown owner Jimmy Haslam says, I take huge exception to people saying that the Browns are dysfunctional. No.
What?
You're dysfunctional, Jimmy.
Yeah, because, one, your head coach just got fired.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting criticized about Shador, about what's been happening. You had the whole team trying to think, is Myles Garrett going to get the sack record? And he did. I'm glad he did. But it would have been a world of criticism if that did not happen this season.
I'll tell you, here's the thing, Jimmy. Truck stop Jimmy. Here's the problem. Here's the deal, dude. You've had 7 billion quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Feels like 6 billion head coaches. You were the guy who said, no one else, when you drafted Johnny Manziel, the reason you drafted him is because you were walking, I think, into the complex or into, I forget where you're walking into, and a homeless man stopped you and said, draft Johnny Manziel, which I guess he was your head scout or your GM because you listened to him.
He saw the old ancestor of the town that had to give him a fortune teller to tell they'll draft Johnny Manziel.
Mean, Jimmy, your organization is dysfunctional because of you. And honestly, Andrew Berry, the GM, somehow survived. Even though he's the guy, look, Truck Stop Jimmy pulled the trigger on the Deshaun Watson trade. You don't make a trade that big and give out that kind of money without the owner being involved.
Right.
But Andrew Berry was the GM, and he kept his job. And the Deshaun Watson trade has cratered this franchise. So, very interesting. Speaking of the Browns, they've requested an interview with Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. I'm a huge Monken guy. This year, there were some head-scratching moments for the Ravens offense, but Todd Monken, remember, he was a head coach at Southern Miss years ago in college.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see where that goes. And again, who knows what's going to happen with John Harbaugh with the Ravens. So, Todd Monken, the Browns requested an interview with him. Also, in the requesting interview department, the Arizona Cardinals request interviews with Robert Saleh and Anthony Weaver. And I hate to say this, but this is just a reality of the NFL. When you see interview requests, some of them are legit, and some of them are just to fill the Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
Because you have to interview minority candidates. Both Saleh and Weaver are minority candidates. Not to say they wouldn't be the head coach. I'm not saying that they wouldn't get hired. But remember, they also check a box. And Saleh, look, I don't know how much of Robert Saleh was just a bad head coach with the Jets or Robert Saleh had to work with the Jets. I don't know if it's a Saleh problem or a Jets problem. The more I watch, the more I lean to it's a Jets problem. But Robert Saleh and Anthony Weaver, who's looked at, a lot of people think he's an up-and-comer, was a DC with the Dolphins this year. He's, been an assistant coach in the NFL for a bit, so we'll see. We shall see. But Anthony Weaver, Robert Saleh, the Cardinals have requested an interview. But here's the thing, Jalen. Mm-hmm. All of these openings right now are bad organizations with bad owners.
Atlanta.
So wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny? Cleveland Browns request permission to speak with Todd Monken. Todd Monken refuses to speak to Cleveland Browns. I mean, look, you want to interview with everybody to a point. I get it. If nothing else, it's good practice.
Yeah.
But, if I'm a high-level offensive or defensive coordinator in the NFL or a head coach who, like Kevin Stefanski, people think he'll get a good share of interviews after getting fired in Cleveland. There's certain places I don't want to interview with you. If Mark Davis calls and says, "Hey, want to interview with the Raiders?" No, I don't.
I got a name for the Browns.
Go for it.
Dable.
I have mixed feelings on Dable. He had that one really good year when he first got there and the Giants made the playoffs early in his tenure, and then it was a disaster after that.
But look what he did with Jackson Dart this year.
Well, I will say Jackson Dart was better than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
But overall, Dable's record was terrible.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to be a developer of quarterbacks. Good, I'll hire you as an offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach. But I don't know if Brian Dable is a head coach. There are a lot of really good assistants who just aren't head coaches. So I don't know if Dable's just a good offensive coordinator / quarterback guru. and he's not a good head coach, or again,
he
was just stunk in dysfunction with the Giants. I don't know.
That was an interesting name that just came to my head literally like a second ago. I was like, okay.
And he did a hell of a job with Giants. That's how he got the job with the Giants, because he did such good work with Josh Allen in Buffalo.
Because, Shador is the quarterback for the future for them.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It depends on how they draft this season, but...
Well, it depends on what they thought of Shador, right?
Yeah.
If they think there's potential there, both on the field and off the field, to be a mature leader, then maybe they'll give him an opportunity. But if they didn't see things they like, then they might decide, okay, we need to move forward and get somebody else. Or they might say, well, we were Shador, maybe, we don't know for sure, but we got to go out and get other quarterbacks just in case he's not.
I think the three jobs that are very interesting: the Falcons, the Browns, and the Giants. And the Raiders. I had them too. I don't know. I personally think for the Raiders, I said this to my friends earlier this week, getting rid of Antonio Pierce was the worst decision they have made in the last 4 years.
I don't know. Every decision they make is, I don't know what Antonio Pierce was. I don't. The Raiders, until you get a new owner, nothing else matters.
Yeah, and I don't think Mark is going to leave. I mean, he owns the Aces. The Aces are winning.
But
I don't.
How much does he meddle in the Aces? Because we know he meddles with the Raiders. There's a lot of dysfunction. Everybody thought, well, Tom Brady's here, everything's going to be good. Well, there was a lot of dysfunction last year, and Brady was there. So Mark Davis is just, until you get rid of Mark Davis, or he leaves or passes or whatever, none of this is ever going to change. It's just, some guys can't get out of their own way.
But to them, yes, they do need a quarterback.
Badly.
Mendoza or Dante Moore, I don't know.
Dante Moore's got a ton of physical ability.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like he needs another year. He needs another year as a starter in college to get more experience, because, again, there's a level of experience, I'm talking about starts, that works transitioning from college to the NFL. And Moore, he started a handful of games at UCLA. He started a full season at Oregon. He did sit behind Gabriel last year. He might still need to stay cooking a little bit. The timer hasn't popped yet, but he's got a ton of physical ability.
Yeah, and I think if he can amplify that, if he does stay at Oregon, yes, they are a contender, and that will improve his chances going into next year into a heavy quarterback, draft class in the class of 2026, 27.
Mm-hmm. All right, the story about Cliff Kingsbury that we're going to bring up is Kingsbury has mutually agreed to leave the Washington Commanders after he met with head coach Dan Quinn. A couple things are going on here. There's some smoke that Kingsbury wants to go see if he can be a head coach, which I wouldn't hire him as a head coach.
Me neither.
And the other part is, though, Dan Quinn and Kingsbury are kind of butting heads on the offense. Kingsbury wants to run a no-huddle offense. His quarterbacks love that offense. Jaden Daniels, and also when Marcus Mariota stepped in when Daniels was hurt, they both liked the offense. They liked running the no-huddle. But Dan Quinn, before Dan Quinn was a head coach, what was he? A defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn wanted to back off of that no-huddle and start getting more conventional and running the ball in a conventional manner, because he wanted to, help his defense. Defensive coordinators, when they become head coaches, they all want to protect their defense. They just do. I think there's a balance in there. Yes, I understand that, your defense was an issue last year. You fired your defensive coordinator. But also, you don't want to go away from what your quarterback does really well and likes to do. And nobody talked about anything 2 years ago when the Commanders got to the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we'll see where this goes, but Quinn will hire more of a conventional offensive coordinator. Kingsbury, did somebody tell me, could get a head coaching job? Did his agent say, hey, man, there's something out there for you? I don't know. Kingsbury, to me, has never been anything but an head coach.
The stint from the Cardinals from 2019 until the end of COVID was
nothing special.
Nothing.
His time as a college head coach, nothing special at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
He is a meh head coach who's a good offensive coordinator and a good quarterback whisperer, but he's not a head coach.
Now I'm thinking what is next for Jaden Daniels? Does he have?
Well, see, that's the other part. That's a great point because, again, you got to bring in an offensive coordinator that will continue Jaden Daniels on his path.
Yeah.
You can't try to make Jaden Daniels what he's not to fit protecting your defense.
And you can't turn him into another Joe Burrow injury-prone type quarterback.
Well, Jaden Daniels has a specific skill set, and you've got to build your offense around that. You just have to. We'll see what the Commanders, we'll see what they do. We'll find out. All right, again, basketball tonight. We'll talk about that next as the men take off to Baton Rouge to face LSU. LSU will be attacking a weakness. We'll talk about that next here on the postgame show. All right, we've got some stuff going on the roadways. We have a vehicle on fire in Lexington, I-20 westbound, right before Highway 34. That's at exit 44. Accidents to get to in Richland Farrow Road near Fontaine Road. Also, Hardscrabble Road near Summit Parkway. Laurel Street at Main Street in downtown Columbia. Again in Lexington, Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive. Two Notch at I-77 and Wayne Street at Hampton Street. Breaking news, another man coming into the portal to South Carolina. We'll have that next year on the postgame show. Again, tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The South Carolina men will travel to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. Both teams lost their SEC openers. LSU undefeated at home this year. They're 12-2 overall. South Carolina hitting the road at 9-5, and again, 0-1 in league play. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We have breaking news. We have our correspondent, Jalen Tark.
We do.
Jalen Tark hiding deeply in the bowels of the South Carolina football complex.
Yes.
Breaking news. What's up?
Yeah, so according to Walker Gaskins, he reported that inside offensive lineman Carter Miller has committed to South Carolina.
The Central Florida Center.
The Central Florida Center.
Central Florida Center. We went over some of his numbers earlier. Pro Football Focus grades for Carter Miller, who just finished up his junior year. Overall blocking grade was 60.2, 61.3 run blocking grade, 65.5 pass protection grade. Gave up 0 sacks and 16 pressures and 352 pass plays last year at Central Florida.
I'll add to Pete Nakos from the On 3 report broke the story.
All right, so there you go. Carter Miller, center, Central Florida, has committed to South Carolina.
How many starts did he have?
I'm looking up his extracurriculars. I think he started every game. Let me make sure.
Just
9 games.
Just the physical look.
Games.
He just looks like a mountain of a man.
He looks like a mountain of a man.
Yeah, he looks like a mountain of a man.
Mountain of a man.
Old school jersey tucked up. You're seeing the gut.
He's got the gut?
He means business.
Well, you know what? When you got the gut and the jersey's up and, you don't know where your shoulders stop and your neck starts and all that good stuff.
Low haircut, the tats and everything. It just reminds you of Max Crosby on the offensive line.
So you figure he's eating in one of those pictures, he's eating a bowl of glass, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Carter Miller at Central Florida started his career. It's interesting. He was at James Madison in 2022 and 2023. Went to Louisiana Monroe for a year, and then to Central Florida. Looking at his grades over his career, he's always been better in pass protection. 2022 James Madison, he had now again, over 70 is what you're looking for in these grades. You want to be over 70.
Okay.
First year at James Madison, 2022, played 28 snaps, had a pass protection grade of 74.2.
Okay.
23 in James Madison, played 657 offensive snaps, had a pass protection grade of 69, which is right a tick below 70. 2024 Louisiana Monroe, played 714 snaps, had a pass blocking grade of almost 80.
Wow.
This year at Central Florida, a pass blocking grade of 65.5, which was the worst out of his 4 years. But again, that was his first year in a Power 4 conference. 593 snaps last year. Again, total grade of 60.2. Again, run blocking grade of 61.3, pass blocking grade 65.5. His run blocking grades have always been below average. First year, James Madison, 57.2. Second year, JMU, 60.4. Louisiana Monroe was 59.1. Last year, 61.3, which was best run blocking grade. So that is who is showing up. 1 year of eligibility is my guess for Carter Miller at South Carolina. But Central Florida center Carter Miller has committed to South Carolina. So there you go. It's 3 now.
And the first player to put it out there was none other than Lenore Sellers.
Really?
Yes.
So Lenore's is happy it's a center.
Yeah.
They'll be quite intimate because no, Lenore's in the shotgun, so it's not the same as being under center.
But I think building that chemistry early at the minute that he committed, that's important. And I think, having that connection for fans to be excited for, it's one, to get a center. That's difficult to get this early versus getting the other offensive line pieces together.
And look, center, obviously left tackle is always the most important position on the offensive line, especially if your quarterback's right-handed, blah, blah, blah. But center is so underrated.
Yes.
Because you're making the line calls. Last time I checked, you're the guy that starts the entire play with the ball. And again, you don't want heat on your quarterback from the interior, coming into his face. Last year, look, Boaz Stanley, God love him, great first name. Love that name. But Boaz, you just sound like a bad dude, right?
Yeah.
You sound like a bad dude. You don't want to mess with anybody named Boaz. But Stanley just wasn't the player we were hoping he was going to be coming from Troy, and it happens. And the year before, Rashawn Lee was solid at center, had been at South Carolina, felt like for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you lose Lee, you bring in another veteran in Boaz Stanley. It just didn't work. So you're hoping, now that you've added Carter Miller, that you can get back to some consistency at the center position because it is such an important spot on the offense. So Carter Miller.
And he was a captain last season. So you're bringing in someone that has those leadership skills to lead a team. So great get for Carolina.
All right. Also, Jaden Gibson, obviously wide receiver from Oklahoma, has committed to South Carolina. Jordan Thomas, interior defensive lineman, has also committed to South Carolina. So that's 3. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, wide receiver. And we'll get more into all that as we get everything reset here, top of the hour. All right, South Carolina on the court, going to Baton Rouge to face LSU. And if you just take a step back and look at South Carolina as a team, Michie Johnson, the leading scorer, and right now leading assist man as well, and also leading in turnovers per game. Michie, 13.5 points a game, almost 4 assists, 2 turnovers. Michie's shooting okay from 3, 33.8, which is right around average. Overall field goal percentage, though, 41.7, and that's not good. Michie's solid at the line, 75%. Mike Sharmjamps is the second leading scorer at about 12 a game with almost 6 boards and almost 3 assists. Again, a guy who, inside the three-point line, has been shooting it really well. Almost 54% overall, but from 3, only 27%. He's typically been about a 30 to 32% three-point shooter in his career, so he's down a little bit. And Sharmjamps has only taken 43s out of 108 attempts. So once you get him inside the three-point line, he's shooting well over 50% from the floor. Elijah Strong, and Eli Ellis. I'm just making everybody Eli. What the heck? Eli Knox, Eli Studi. Eli Strong is averaging a little bit over 10 a game. Eli Ellis a tick over 10 as well. Look, if you get Elijah Strong inside the three-point line and let him go at it,
he's
a much more efficient scorer. Strong, understand this. Elijah Strong is shooting 26% from 3. And he has taken overall this year 110 shots, 46 of them from 3.
Wow.
So a little under half his shots are from 3. Look, he's been a better three-point shooter in his career, and I get he's probably thinking, man, I'm going to get this. I'm just in a slump. I'm going to start nailing these threes. Okay, I understand that, but let's do the math real quick with my phone because it's always gripping, compelling rate. Remember the number 64? Okay, remember the number 64?
Gotcha.
Okay, give me a second here. Okay, 42 divided by 64. Elijah Strong shooting 66% inside the three-point line.
And that's 2 over 64 right there. So
and he's shooting 26% at the three-point line. Again, a guy who's not understanding right now, you are much more efficient, effective, and much more of a help to your team if you understand you need to not chuck as many threes. Not saying don't shoot them, but don't be so three-point happy because right now inside the three-point line, you're killing it.
Yeah.
But Strong sitting at 10 a game. Eli Ellis also at 10 a game. Eli Ellis, the thing is that he's only shooting 20% from three, which we thought he was going to be a lot better shooter from three, especially from that exhibition game at NC State. But Eli Ellis offensively overall has had a solid freshman year.
Yeah.
All right, the vault, we'll crack that open next here on the post-game show. Jalen's running the show, steering it. Terry Ford, we go till 6 on the game. Oh, we got some cool stuff on the vault today. We'll start in the sports world.
What we got?
We got some good stuff in the sports world today.
Okay.
On this day in 1976, some dude named Ted Turner bought the Atlanta Braves for a reported $10 to $12 million. Think about that. That's all. That's all it costed to buy the Atlanta Braves.
Like 15
in 1976. And then when Ted Turner sold the Braves, I got to look this up right now.
Probably a triple-digit number.
Oh, it's going to be ridiculous.
My guess is 120
million.
Yes.
I'm going to go a lot higher than that. Let's see.
Is it in the billions?
Ready?
Oh, go ahead.
Ted Turner sold the Braves as part of selling Turner Broadcasting. It was acquired by Time Warner in 1996. $7.5 billion. Bought the Braves for $10 to $12 million. Sold them as part of selling Turner Broadcasting for $7.5 billion.
Question: when he sold the team, did they win a World Series?
Yeah, they won that one here recently.
Okay, cool.
Yep, in the last few years. So Ted Turner on this day bought the Braves for $10 to $12 million. I remember him and Jane Fonda would sit in the box seats and fall asleep during the World Series. The Pittsburgh Steelers in this day in 1980 advanced to their fourth Super Bowl by beating the Houston Oilers for the second consecutive year in the AFC title game. 1995, Lenny Wilkens becomes the winningest coach in NBA history. Atlanta Hawks beat the Washington Bullets. That was win number 939, surpassing Red Auerbach. Of course, Wilkins won one NBA championship, and that was with the Seattle Supersonics. So Lenny Wilkens on this day becomes the all-time winning head coach in NBA history. 1994, the last sports piece. Nancy Kerrigan, figure skater for the U.S., is attacked after practice at the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Detroit. Shane Stant cracks Kerrigan on the knee and flees the scene. Later that evening, Scott Davis wins the men's figure skating championship. Have you ever seen the movie about this?
No.
Of course, everything came out with Tanya Harding and Jeff Gillooly, her husband, were basically Gillooly did it, paid Shane Stant. Tanya Harding, a lot of people said did not know. But again, Tanya Harding, it was, again, her career was never the same. She was suspended, blah, blah, blah. She boxed, did all sorts of stuff. The movie, it's called I, Tanya, is hilarious. And also sad all at the same time. But that night, I remember Nancy Kerrigan, remember that,
2017?
in the hallway after she got clubbed on the leg. 1994. I believe she won the silver medal that year in the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Harding was in the Olympics and didn't medal. All right, this day in entertainment history. On this day, The Wheel of Fortune first aired on NBC in 1975.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it was Pat Sajak and Vanna White in 1975, but it did premiere in 1975. And then this iconic part of all of our childhoods debuted on this day in 1973. Hit it.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Conjunction, junction.
This day in 1973. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill.
Man.
And I'm living here on Capitol Hill. It's part of all of our childhoods. Schoolhouse
The
Rock.
very first time I saw that was the 6th grade.
Uh-huh.
I thoroughly remember
And
that.
Schoolhouse Rock was the jam, dude. I love Schoolhouse Rock as a kid. This day in 1973, Schoolhouse Rock debuted. Ready, the first one?
Yeah.
And look, nobody's going to remember this. Well, maybe a few. Multiplication Rock was the first Schoolhouse Rock.
Wow.
On this day, 1973. Schoolhouse Rock was cool, man.
Then after that was Brain Pop. right
Now,
after that.
I remember that a little bit, but and because my kids saw that. I was a little old.
Reading Rainbow. Did you
Reading
have
Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Yeah.
Mr. Rogers. When I was a kid, Mr. Rogers. There was also, I'm losing my mind. There's Schoolhouse Rock. There was obviously Sesame Street, The Electric Company.
The Electric Company, yep. The Electric Company was good.
All that stuff when I was a kid, man.
Now it's like...
Remember the Muppets?
Yes.
The Muppets. All that stuff.
Now PBS, that's in the era as well.
I know, it's over.
First MTV, and now it's PBS, man. Rest
Telling
in
you, man.
peace.
All this stuff we were digging when we were younger. Telling you.
Hate it.
But there's your vault, Schoolhouse Rock, this day in 1973. The same day Tanya Harding got clubbed on the leg. All right, 5 o'clock news, sponsored by Integrated Media, coming up in 5:15. Lulu Kesson, Greenville News. She will be opening up the Gamecock Notebook for us. We'll get you caught up. Good transfer portal day when it comes to bodies coming in for Carolina. We'll talk about it next here on the game. All right, quick check on the traffic. Still have that vehicle fire, I-20 westbound before Highway 34 at exit 44. In Lexington, Columbia Highway, there's an accident between Carter Oak Road, St. Peter's Road, and Wise Ferry Road. Also in Lexington, Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive, an accident as well. And then we have our construction that we always have to deal with. I-126 between Hugie and I-26. I-26 between Bush River Road and Old Sandy Run Road. And I-20 between I-26, exit 64 and 65 at Broad River Road. 5 o'clock news. Get you caught up on all the transfer portal stuff. Next with the Gamecocks on the postgame show. Time to check the 5 o'clock news, sponsored by our buds at Integrated Media. In case you missed it, a good transfer portal day when it comes to bodies settling into Columbia. Carter Miller, center from Central Florida, has announced he is committed to South Carolina. Again, Miller, Pro Football Focus grades overall this past year, again, 70 is where you want to be. Miller at 60.2, run blocking grade 61.3, pass protection grade 65.5. Through his career, he's been a much better pass protector than run blocker. 1 year of eligibility left, I believe, for Carter Miller. Miller gave up 0 sacks and 16 pressures in 352 pass plays in 2025. So Carter Miller coming in to play center at South Carolina. Also through the portal, Jordan Thomas, interior defensive lineman, committing to the Gamecocks, played at Georgia last year, only played 64 snaps during his time with the Bulldogs. A guy with a high ceiling coming out of high school, got some veterans in front of him rather, and he has decided to move on. And maybe you get from Jordan Thomas what you got from Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. Again, Dindy was a 5-star. Thomas, a 4-star coming out of high school. He was the 120th overall player in the country when he came out from 24/7 Sports composite rankings. Played at Don Bosco Prep in New Jersey. He's a guy, again, with a lot of ability. Just to get a chance to get on the field at Georgia. We'll see what happens now. He'll get his opportunity at South Carolina to possibly be part of rotation. It does still include Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. So Jordan Thomas comes in, 1 going out. Jalen Brown, the edge, who came in the portal last year from Missouri, has decided to leave South Carolina and throw himself in the portal. That was announced today. Other portal news, former South Florida quarterback Byron Brown, to the surprise of no one, is going to transfer to play for his head coach at South Florida, who's also left. That's Alex Golesh, who is now at Auburn. So Byron Brown transferring to Auburn to join his former head coach, Alex Golesh. Also, some others who have hit the portal. Austin Daniels, who was at Auburn last year, has decided to transfer to Florida State, where Daniels will hopefully get an opportunity to be the starter there. Daniels has bounced around a bit, I believe, was at Stanford, off the top of my head. But Daniels will land at Florida State. Austin Simmons, who was supposed to be the dude at Ole Miss this year, has decided to transfer, and he will head to Missouri, where he's hoping he'll be the starting quarterback for the Tigers. Bo Prabula last year was a starter. Prabula got hurt, and Prabula's hit the portal this year. Keeping up with all this? Because I'm confused as hell. Anyway, that's what's going on in the portal regarding quarterbacks in the country. Tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. South Carolina going to LSU. The Tigers undefeated on their home court in Baton Rouge this year. South Carolina at 9-5. Both teams lost their openers in the SEC. South Carolina got beat by Vandy by double digits. LSU had a chance at A&M to tie the game at the end, but missed a 3, and that was a weird game. Tigers fell behind by double digits, came back, took the lead in the second half. The game seesawed till the end, and then LSU again missed the 3-pointer to tie the game. So LSU hosting South Carolina. If you look at Ken Pom numbers, LSU number 32 overall in the Ken Pom rankings. A team offensively that is also in the top 30 or top 35. Defensively, LSU in, I believe, the top 50. Let me get my Ken Pom numbers correct. LSU was 36th in Ken Pom overall, 32nd offensively, 59th defensively. Don't play super fast, 165th in the country in tempo. But when they get in the half court, they tend to kind of speed up a bit. LSU, really good inside the three-point arc, top 15 in the country in two-point shooting percentage. They're average shooting threes, but they don't shoot a ton of them. They're below average in three-point attempts. Basically, all that means is this. LSU is going to attack the interior and attack the paint and the rim. South Carolina, their weakness defensively, their big weakness defensively, is guarding the interior. That's going to be huge tonight. Can the Gamecocks make some threes? Because, again, they take a ton of them. Almost half their shots are from three. If they make some, they got a chance in this game. If they keep clanging bricks from three like they've been, eventually I could see LSU wearing down South Carolina on the inside and the Tigers winning the basketball game. LSU 7.5-point favorites. Again, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our sister station 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. All right, back to football. College football news from the SEC. Alabama offensive tackle Caden Proctor will enter the NFL draft. Proctor, a starter all 3 years at Bama. His best season is sophomore year, where he got a lot of All-America buzz. This past year, Proctor, not as good. But folks still think with the athleticism of Caden Proctor that he will end up being taken possibly late first round. So Caden Proctor putting his name in the NFL draft, which, again, totally makes sense for Caden Proctor. The Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins are reworking his deal. Basically, it looks like Cousins will be gone before March 13th because that's when some guaranteed money for Cousins will vest. And the Falcons don't want to do that. Basically, you ready for this? It has been a rework contract, but still, $68 million in guaranteed dough will vest on March 13th. There is no way Atlanta wants to be on the hook for all that guaranteed money. They would split the dead money hit, basically $35 million over the next 2 years if they do get rid of him post June 1. So everybody's kind of getting this thing together to where, okay, look, man, here's what we want to do. Here's what you want to do. Make sure you get your dough. We need some help here with the cap and with we don't want to, get dumped with a lot of money this year, blah, 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 because the Falcons are in cap hell right now. And they got to get out of it. And neither Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix, what you call tore it up this year, neither one had a quarterback rating over 90. And the Falcons, look, Penix, he's on a rookie deal. I get it. You drafted him high in the first round, which I wouldn't have. He's still on that rookie contract. Last year, Penix was very inconsistent. Decision-making, accuracy, everything.
And he hurt his...
and then he got hurt again.
Yeah.
He always gets hurt.
His knee.
So Penix, we'll see if he's back in time to start next year, but you got to figure out the quarterback position. You got Bijan Robinson at running back, Drake London at wide receiver, and you got Kyle Pitts at tight end. You got three guys with a ton of ability, skill position dudes. You need a quarterback and a system of offense that's going to open this up, and obviously an offensive line. So Kirk Cousins reworking his deal. It feels like Atlanta will let loose and get rid of Cousins before March 13th, like March 12th at 11:59. We cannot have Kirk Cousins on the roster once you get.
I just don't know who would coach the team now that Morris is gone. You had the division, and you went on this slump to not win it and not go to the playoffs.
Especially such a bad division.
Yeah, and Drake London was having a historic season. until he got hurt with 3 games left of the regular season. I mean, the coverages that he was doing, the moves that he was making, getting open, it was just incredible. Like, people that had him on fantasy were praising this man of how talented he is. But I don't know. I think Stefanski, again, like how what we said earlier in the show, I personally think Stefanski could be a potential hire for them, but a lot of people are saying that New York would be an ideal spot for him with the talent that they have with Scatterboo, with Jackson Dart, and with Malik Neighbors coming back. But I'm not really too sold on Stefanski in terms of developing the players into the system that you want them to be in, and then them striving in, just having a consistency throughout the season. I'm not sure if New York could be a potential landing spot for him or Atlanta.
If I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'd rather work with Jackson Dart than Michael Penix.
I agree, yes.
I mean, I'd rather work with Jackson Dart. You like what, the Giants have. The Giants have pieces on offense. Offensive line had good moments last year. You just got to tell Jackson Dart, dude, slide or get out of bounds.
Yeah.
I would rather go to the Giants if I'm Kevin Stefanski, because I want to work with that offense and those pieces. And if I'm Kevin Stefanski, first of all, I don't know when Michael Penix Jr. is going to be healthy. I don't know if he can stay healthy. And even if he does stay healthy, there are some legit question marks about, again, he shouldn't have been playing. He should have been sitting and learning.
Yeah.
Penix has arm talent. Can you get him consistent? That's the big issue. I would pick the Giants over the Falcons. To me, I think the Giants' job, if you just look at pieces, because on defense you have Abdul Carter, you've got Thibodeau.
And Brian Burns.
Yeah,
Burns.
you got a lot of talent with that Giant team. If I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'd probably go there. Some of the candidates for the Falcons head coaching gig, since you brought this up and asked. Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator in San Francisco. Seattle, not San Francisco. Clint Kubiak's in Seattle. They got San Francisco on this list. Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator in San Francisco. Jesse Mentor, defensive coordinator with the Chargers. Brian Flores, no thanks, defensive coordinator with the Vikings. Did he learn from his first mistakes in Miami?
He's better off as a coordinator than a head coach.
100%. The Stefanski's on this list, and here's the name, Bill Belichick. No, if I'm Atlanta, I'm not doing that. But there's some of the candidates that are listed that's out there.
The Chargers DC is interesting. It just depends upon how well they do in the playoffs. Gotta win in the playoffs, man, in order for you to get your name deep into the conversation.
The interesting name is Clint Kubiak as well. Look, you never know with these coordinators until they become head coaches if they can be head coaches. You just don't know. Some coordinators are meant to be coordinators, right? They just are. The cemetery of fired head coaches is filled with great coordinators who just couldn't, move to the next office. But Clint Kubiak, what he did this year in Seattle was impressive.
It is impressive.
And the last name Kubiak,
that's a historical name in the NFL.
He learned from a hell of an OC and his dad, Gary.
Yeah.
So, and Kubiak is going to be interviewed by multiple teams. Giants, Cardinals, Raiders, Falcons have interest as well.
But do you trust him to go to Atlanta, or do you trust him to go?
Well, I would rather have Kevin Stefanski, if it's me, because when Stefanski had stability at the quarterback position, the Browns made the playoffs twice. The Deshaun Watson debacle, that got Kevin Stefanski fired.
Yeah.
Because you got this albatross hanging on your neck. The guy's sucking up cap space. You've given up a ton of draft capital. And by the way, he's hurt all the time. And when he's not hurt, he's not playing like the dude that was in Houston. So I really think when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, and the more I think about it, Kevin Stefanski, his time in Cleveland was crushed by Deshaun Watson's deal. Just was. I'd probably take Stefanski out of all these guys if it's me. But I think Kubiak's interesting. Yeah. I don't know if he can be a good head coach or not.
I don't know either.
I'll be honest. I'll raise my hand. With Liam Cohen, when Liam Cohen got hired in Jacksonville, I was like, I don't know. I mean, he had a good year in Tampa Bay as an OC. He did not have a very good year with the Rams as the OC. I mean, Stafford got hurt and the thing was a mess. He bounced around a lot. he did okay with Will Levis his first year at Kentucky.
Yeah.
But when I looked at Liam Cohen's resume, I didn't go, wow, that guy is a no-brainer pick to be a head coach. And Liam Cohen has done a phenomenal job this year in Jacksonville.
And he doesn't, when you look at the games that they played, just watching it as a fan, he just does not look apart as a head coach. But the job that he's done, and Trevor Lawrence, man, he's playing the best football out of anybody right now.
Trevor Lawrence was learning Cohen's ways for like the first 6 weeks. But the last half of the year, Trevor Lawrence has been ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right, there's a 5 o'clock news sponsor, our Buds Integrated Media. We'll come back, open up the Gamecock Notebook with Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News. That is next here on the postgame show on the game. All right, who better to open up the Gamecock notebook with than Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News?
The one and only.
The one and only. I mean, out of all the Lulus, she's our favorite Lulu that we know. Just saying. Lulu, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me and for the kind words. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
So what exciting things did you do in the holidays?
I think the most exciting part is I got to go home, which was nice. So I actually drove up to Massachusetts. I was there for a solid chunk of December, so that was actually really nice. Saw some family, saw some friends. So all in all, a good holiday season for sure.
And froze your tail off because I was up in Baltimore for like 2 weeks, and it was cold there. I can only imagine that your face froze in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it was a very, very stark difference between the weather in Columbia, especially on Christmas. I heard it was like 70 here, but yeah, it was like 20 in the 20s back. The winter I grew up knowing.
Right, exactly. Hey, by the way, it is funny when you grow up, in the Mid-Atlantic or the East Coast and the Northeast, and like winter, you freeze your tail off. Then when you're here and you're wearing like shorts in December and January and February, not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. I don't miss shoveling snow, Lulu. I really don't.
I honestly don't. And I was telling my parents today, like, now that the holidays are over, like, give me the warm South Carolina weather. Like, I'm totally fine with whatever January and February looks like because, yes, I did not miss scraping snow off my car like I had to do before school every day.
No, I don't even have an ice scraper anymore. I got rid of my ice scraper. I don't need it. Lulu Kesson, Greenville News, hanging out with us here. Open up the Gamecock notebook on the post-game show. All right, so we see two portal additions today for South Carolina. Jordan Thomas, interior defensive lineman. Carter Miller, junior center. I mean, in theory, Thomas has a lot of upside. Didn't play much at Georgia. Miller's going into, I guess, his final year of eligibility. Good pass protector. I mean, you got to add a lot on the offensive line. I guess this is the start, Lulu.
Yeah, exactly. I think the anxiety amongst the fan base, and honestly, I think sort of a natural reaction had Miller not just committed would sort of be like, okay, the clock is ticking a little bit in terms of adding a lot of offensive linemen, which is what South Carolina obviously needs, not just losing the people that they did, but just having the performance the last few years that they've had. Like, they need some really solid offensive linemen. I think these so far, what they're getting, it's off to a decent start. I don't think that I think fans are realistic in wanting a lot more pretty quickly, but I do think it's also like a slow process. People do have to visit other places, and there's a lot of additional factors financially too this portal cycle. I'm curious to kind of see how these offensive linemen especially trickle in, whether that's, a clump from maybe one school that has ties to either, of South Carolina's new coaches, or if it's something where Shane just kind of has a hodgepodge of, linemen from different schools with some pretty decent experience next year.
Lulu Kesson hanging out with us from the Greenville News, talking some Gamecocks here on the post-game show during our Gamecock Notebook segment. All right, second thing on football, we knew there was going to be a lot of upheaval in the offensive line room. Did you expect this amount of upheaval with so many guys running for the portal that everybody got stuck in the door?
Kind of, a little bit. I think sort of like maybe someone like Josiah Thompson leaving, someone that I felt like had Shane's, trust from the beginning and was somebody that would kind of continue to grow. I know a lot of people were critical on, kind of saying that he didn't make that big of a jump. I thought that he was somebody that had a good upside and that was going to continue to, be a positive presence. But I do think that there were probably some harsh and honest conversations behind the scenes with both the coaching staff and players about expectations and where people were. And it's hard when you kind of have a group that overall just really underperformed the last couple years in terms of allowing quarterback sacks. But at the same time, like, so much goes into that, and I think Shane was honest about, like, it wasn't just entirely the offensive line, but it certainly wasn't good enough. And I want to say I'm not that surprised, only because I imagine that the expectations and reality for some people just weren't probably on the same page as the coaching staff. And with a new offensive line coach and new coordinator, I figured there'd be some change, whether that was bringing in some TCU guys or other people.
Lulu Kesson hanging out with us, talking some Gamecocks in our Gamecock Notebook section, or whatever the hell I'm calling it. Lulu, of course, from the Greenville News, here on the post-game show. Okay, switch to women's basketball. Obviously, the team's only lost one game this year. That was to Texas. They're undefeated so far in SEC play. That was a rock fight in Gainesville against a better than we would think Florida team. But so far, I mean, I know the Latson injury is hovering over this team right now, the second leading scorer. But what are your thoughts so far on South Carolina, the women, as we're rolling into SEC play?
Yeah, I think that the game, what stood out is that they came 21 turnovers, which just stuck out to me because I do think South Carolina is good at protecting the ball. And also, they came into the game against Florida with the second best field goal percentage in the country and shot 25% midway through the third quarter. Like, we're at 25%. Shots weren't falling. I do think that it's a different story had maybe a couple of those makes in the first quarter gone in. That said, it's kind of one of those ugly wins that teaches South Carolina a lot more than a 40-point win would have, especially with Georgia and Arkansas this year. And this is, no excuse for South Carolina down the line, but the reality is with the transfer portal and with rev share, like, there are more SEC, like, the SEC is just better. South Carolina is still going to dominate in my eyes. I don't think that they're going to all of a sudden be fifth in the conference, but the reality is there's a lot of really great teams and nothing will be easy. And I think that looking at what South Carolina can do against teams that probably will still finish towards the bottom in maybe an Arkansas, maybe a Georgia, maybe a Florida, like, they're still all better teams than they were last year, Georgia and Florida especially. And so these kind of early tests have been good to see what South Carolina can do, especially, like you said, without Latson. I just think that it's taught them, okay, here's how we adapt with some pretty random lineups that, hey, we might not need in March, but Dawn might have her starters healthy for, all of the tournament, but it's good practice for whatever kind of happens.
Lulu, from what you saw from the Florida game, with Latson still being out, we saw good quality minutes from Maddie McDaniel and Agat McCure. What impressed you the most from their performance that you think could help them throughout the conference play until Latson comes back?
Yeah, I personally loved seeing Maddie McDaniel share the floor with Raven Johnson because those are two really strong point guards that are learning to play with each other instead of, okay, Raven's off, McDaniel's in, vice versa. They really enjoyed it. I asked both of them about that, and it kind of allows them to diversify their scoring efforts. It enhances South Carolina's offense because you sort of have two point guards on the floor that are going to play like one, but also one is probably going to be a little bit more aggressive shooting the ball. I thought Agat McCure had some freshman moments early on, some turnovers, and I was actually kind of glad to see her go through that and then adapt. She had a really big three-point play in the second half, and getting off on the wrong foot in a road environment can be daunting for some freshmen, and I thought she handled it in a mature fashion. She did miss some time because McDaniel and Raven were playing so well together, but I do think that it was one of those examples where, okay, Dawn has had injuries, but this was just a specific instance where she really had to get creative with her lineups, and I think both of those two players rose to the occasion in that regard.
Lulu, last thing in our final 30 seconds. Any idea when Latson could come back? I know when there's a boot involved, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, things are trending upward from what I've heard. She was not in a boot on the sidelines for the Florida game, which is positive. Originally, it didn't seem to be anything crazy long-term. Staley's kind of said it's up to her pain tolerance. I guess originally I said I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't return until Texas just because they really need her for that game. But based on things, I also wouldn't, at this point, I wouldn't be concerned if she still waited, but I also think fans, I think she might be able to return before then. It just, as kind of Dawn said, it depends on her pain tolerance because it's an ankle that she's had trouble with in the past.
Lulu Kesson, Greenville News. We appreciate you. Thanks for hopping in with us.
Thank you, Lulu.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. We'll bug you again soon. We never stop bugging you. Thanks, Lulu. All right, we'll come back. We have our drive around the SEC, but also breaking news out of the NFL. A longtime coach is no longer a head coach. We'll get to that next here on the postgame show. Jalen and Terry. Jay will be back hopefully on Thursday here on the game. Let's check those roads real quick. We have a few accidents. Still that vehicle on fire situation in Lexington, I-20 westbound before Highway 34. That's right around exit 44. Also in Lexington, Columbia Highway between Charter Oak Road, St. Peter's Road, and Wise Ferry Road, accident there. And in Lexington, St. Andrews Road at Highway 60, Lake Murray Boulevard. In Richland, Park Lane Road at Highway 277, we have an accident there as well. And we have our typical road construction around the area at I-20, I-26, and I-126. We'll come back. A longtime head coach in the NFL just lost his gig. All right, drive around the SEC. We'll get to that in a second. First, breaking news from the NFL. John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens for 18 years, has been fired by the team. Of course, the Ravens, the biggest underachievers in the NFL this year, going 8-9, missing the playoffs despite the fact there were a lot of people who thought that was the best roster in the league. I did not agree with that, but I did think they should win the AFC North easily.
Yeah.
So, John Harbaugh, outlook. The Ravens have been trending in the wrong direction the last couple of years. Remember, 2 years ago you played for the AFC Championship. Last year you lost in the divisional round. This year you don't make the playoffs. That's called going backwards, Jalen.
Yeah.
That's number one.
They weren't so lucky like what we heard with from Daft Punk, where they weren't lucky making that record. So I get it.
They were not Daft Punk.
No.
That should be at the press conference. We're not Daft Punk.
No.
And plus, I mean, no team has blown more double-digit fourth-quarter leads in the last 5 years than the Ravens. Almost the entire Lamar Jackson era, when the game is tight and it's big moments, the Ravens choke. They just have. Whether it's this year with the rookie kicker missing a field goal, who, by the way, has not missed a kick inside of 50 all year until the game winner against Pittsburgh that would have put the Ravens in the playoffs. Last year, Mark Andrews drops a two-point conversion in Buffalo that would have tied the game at the end. Year before that, you're playing the AFC Championship game. You spend the entire second half in Kansas City territory, and you keep shooting yourself in the feet. Zay Flowers had a huge fumble near the Chiefs' goal line. In previous years, Lamar Jackson throwing a crippling pick in the Buffalo red zone that was a pick six.
Mark Andrews.
I mean, Mark Andrews last year. Tyler Huntley, when he was, stepping in for Lamar when Lamar was hurt, had a massive fumble at the goal line against Cincinnati in a playoff game that was taken back for a touchdown. The Ravens, again, in big moments have come up small time after time in the last 5 or 6 years. It felt like the team had hit the ceiling under Harbaugh, but I'm going to say this, and I said it to you during the break. I get it. And maybe Harbaugh was done there, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of openings, and guess who's going to be the number one candidate for these openings?
Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh. Maybe Harbaugh wanted to go do something new. I'm just going to say this. Okay, you want to move on from Harbs. I get it. But you better get it right. Because you were a perennial playoff team under John Harbaugh. Yes, Harbaugh hadn't gotten back to a Super Bowl in over 10 years. They've only won 3 playoff games since 2013. I get it all. But don't think because you got it right with Billick and you got it right with Harbaugh that you're so bleeping smart that you're going to automatically get it right this time. Do your due diligence and make sure you make the right hire that can get you over the hump because you keep hitting your head on the hump, right?
Yeah, I think for them, Stefanski would be the guy. If he does not get the Giants, if he's interviewing for the Giants tomorrow.
I get where you're going there, and I'm not saying you're wrong because I like Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Ravens will go in that direction. John Harbaugh was remember, special teams coach in Philadelphia.
Yep.
He was the guy that was on people's radar, but he only got the job because Jason Garrett turned it down, the offensive coordinator in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Ravens will go with a head coach that's been fired. I'm almost feeling like they're going to go look for the shiny, fancy young coordinator. That's my feeling. I could be wrong, but that's my feeling. Again, I like Kevin Stefanski. I'm not saying he'd be a bad choice because when Stefanski had a quarterback, he did really well. But what the Ravens are going to have to do here, it's very simple. You got to hire a head coach. Either he's an offensive-minded guy or he's going to hire a really good OC who's going to build the offense around Lamar like it has been in Lamar's career.
Well, he's playing the who wants to be a head coaching game, and he can always phone a friend and his brother to try to see who is the best person or what's the best situation for me.
I'm going to tell you, John's going to be fine.
Yeah.
John's going to get a head coaching gig. It could be the Giants. It'd be kind of funny if it was Cleveland and go up against the Ravens twice a year.
Ooh.
But I don't think he'd take the Cleveland gig. John's going to have better options in Cleveland. I think if you're John Harbaugh, the Giant job is very attractive for the reasons we talked about earlier in the show. The problem with the Falcons, again, is the quarterback situation.
Yeah. The Raiders.
Ownership.
Yeah.
But all these openings, except the Ravens, because the Ravens have a good owner in Steve Bisciotti, the rest of these situations all have bad ownership problems. So no matter where you're going, you're going to have ownership issues.
I mean,
So to me, my thought process is the Giants is the best job. The Mara family used to be looked at as good owners. Mara and Tish, the owners of the Giants, they've won before. If you're Harbaugh, and if I've got my choice of jobs, if I get offered the Giant gig, I'm probably taking it.
could we see him, if he does not get a head coaching job in the NFL, would you see him go to the college ranks? Like his
No, he'd go TV.
Okay.
He's not going to do college. Look, there are coaches who want to get away from the college craziness. The only way Harbaugh would go to college if he still wanted to be a head coach and he didn't get any love from the NFL. I just don't see him do. I see him, if he doesn't get the job he's interested in, going to TV for a year or two. Because, remember, when you go to TV, you always become a better candidate for everything. Because you're on TV.
Yeah.
I would see him do that before going to college. That's just me.
Cool.
All right, I'll drive around the SEC. Obviously, Ole Miss in the college football playoff. They'll play Thursday against Miami. This is going to be interesting. Can the offensive line of Ole Miss hold up against the fierce Miami pass rush? Can Ole Miss run the ball enough against Miami with Kejuan Lacey? Can Trinidad Chambliss make plays off script? And when he's getting chased and pressured, it's going to be interesting to see how the Ole Miss offense handles the Miami defense. Remember, the Ole Miss offense had no problem against Oklahoma's defense, which is one of the best in the country, when Ole Miss went to Norman and beat Oklahoma.
And I don't understand, why are these games a day apart when they could just be playing on the same day?
You're stretching out your prime time to get ratings.
True.
By the way, the ratings, really quick, before I forget, as we do the drive around the SEC, the ratings are good. After the quarterfinal round, the ratings are up. Let me see, I got it right in front of me here. The ratings are up like, where's it at? Yeah, I got to find it here. Oh, here we go. The overall ratings for the college football playoff, it's up since the quarterfinal round. 19.3 million viewers. That's up 14% from last year. Through 2 rounds, college football playoff is averaging about 14.5 million viewers, up 3% from last year. Now, the opening round was down 7%.
Yeah.
So think how much the quarterfinal round killed it to get the numbers up.
Well, it was just from 2 games. Because the Indiana game was a blowout. The Oregon game was a shutout.
Are you ready for this? The Indiana-Alabama game averaged 24 million viewers. Alabama.
Wow.
Alabama pulls numbers, man. By the way, that Alabama-Indiana game had more viewers than the Ohio State-Notre Dame national championship game last year.
Wow.
Also, Miami beat Ohio State. That averaged 19 million as well. Now, Oregon's, okay, and then let's see, where's it at here? Ole Miss upset of Georgia got almost 19 million. And Oregon's win over Texas Tech only had 16 million, but still the numbers are up from last year. So Ole Miss will be in that college football playoff semifinal against Miami. Obviously, we'll talk more about that in the next coming days. Speaking of Ole Miss, they will have offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr., running back coach Kevin Smith. They will be coming back from LSU for this week. Let's get to cut 4 again. We played this earlier. Let's re-rack it, though. Pete Golding, the Ole Miss head coach, did not know what was going on. Oh, that's right. We can't get it. We'll get it.
We'll get it next week,
okay. It's all good. Pete Golding didn't know if he was going to have those guys or not. He does. Austin Simmons, Ole Miss quarterback, that was a starter earlier this year and lost his gig to Trinidad Chambliss, has hit the portal, and he is going to transfer to Missouri for the goal of being the quarterback there. Auburn's Austin Daniels, who got some run at the starting quarterback with Auburn this past year, is transferring to Florida State.
And Arkansas just picked up Memphis's quarterback that went in the portal as well.
Of course, he's following his head coach.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at with the drive around the SEC. All right, we'll pop back and take a gander at what's going on in the wagering world. When it comes to games tonight, we'll see what's going on in the SEC with college basketball as well this evening. Of course, South Carolina taking on LSU. You can hear that right here, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. LSU, 7.5-point favorites against South Carolina tonight. We'll come back, and it's Jay versus the Internet with Terry and Jalen subbing for Jay. That's next as we wrap up the postgame show right here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston. All right, let's see what's going on from a wagering angle. In tonight's games will be in college basketball for the men. In the SEC, number 18, Georgia, going to Florida. Florida's talented. They've had some backcourt issues. They're 0-1 in the league. Georgia's 13-1 this year, by the way.
Yeah, Georgia is really, really, really good.
Florida, though, 9.5-point favorites. I'm taking Georgia to cover the number.
Me
Florida
too.
can win, but I think Georgia covers the number.
I mean, they put up a whole NBA total against Auburn over the weekend. That was intense of a game.
Now, Florida at home, let's see.
That's difficult, man.
They've been, they've been better at home, obviously, than on the road or a neutral court. But I think Georgia will cover that number. That's a lot of points to give a 13-1 squad who's ranked and has played well this year. I'd take Georgia in the 9.5. All right, Texas, they will travel to Knoxville to take on Tennessee. The Volunteers, 10.5-point favorites at home. Tennessee also lost their SEC opener, as did Texas. I think Tennessee wins, but I'll take 10.5 points.
Yeah.
I'll take 10.5 points. Texas A&M, fresh off their opening SEC win over LSU, will travel to Auburn. Look, this could change. Obviously, it's 14 games into the tenure. But Bruce Pearl working this thing to hand his kid the head coaching job at Auburn so far has not worked out well. Tigers are 9-5, 0-1 in league. A&M will go into the Plains. Auburn 6.5-point favorites. I'll take Auburn to cover.
Okay.
And win. What the heck? There's talent on that team.
Yeah.
They just lost their really, really good head coach.
Yep.
Okay, LSU is hosting South Carolina. LSU 7.5-point favorites. I've been rocking back and forth on this one.
You want the music?
Sure. Make me feel better. Who wants to be a millionaire? Music. You want to go to the hotkeys?
Yeah, I got you.
This will help me think better. I mean, South Carolina's going to struggle in this game defensively. LSU's going to attack them on the interior. South Carolina loves to shoot threes. They haven't been making threes. I'll take LSU to cover.
Okay. Okay.
Not happy about it, but I will. Top 25 tonight. Number 6, Duke, goes to number 20, Louisville. Duke's a 1.5-point favorite at Louisville.
I got Duke, man.
Yeah, I'm going to take Duke to cover that.
Louisville just hasn't. I mean, Pat Kelsey's a really, really good coach.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's not stopping Boozer. No one's not stopping Cameron.
You know, Louisville this year just has struggled. They're 44th in defensive efficiency. Duke is really good on both ends of the court. I think Duke wins that game at Louisville.
Yep.
Outright.
Yep.
I do. That's the only game with, well, no, there's another game with 2 ranked teams. Texas Tech, number 14th ranked team in the country, who, by the way, curb stomped LSU earlier this year. Number 14, Texas Tech, will travel number 7, Houston.
And they took
That's
it to
a
do.
heck of a game, man.
They took it to do on a neutral court.
Yep. Houston is 6.5-point favorites at home. I think Houston wins, but Texas Tech covers a 6.5. I think Houston will win at home, but Texas Tech's good, man.
Sampson, man, I love him. I love him as a coach, man. I like him.
I was rooting for Houston to win the national championship last year.
Me too.
I was.
Me too.
All right, so also number 2, Michigan, goes to Penn State. Michigan 22.5-point favorites on the road. I think Michigan boat races Penn State.
The Fab Five.
Yeah,
I'm just playing.
I think the Fab Five could beat Penn State right now. Those guys are in their 50s.
Undefeated. I mean,
anyway.
Them in Arizona.
Tell you what, Arizona, Vandy.
Yeah.
Oh, who else? Nebraska.
Michigan State.
Number 19, Iowa, goes to Minnesota. Iowa 5.5-point favorites at Minnesota. Minnesota's 2-1 in the Big Ten. I'll take Iowa to cover, win the game on the road. What the heck? Why not? What else here? Number 22, Kansas. They've been a weird year, trying to keep guys healthy. They'll be hosting TCU. Kansas 7.5-point favorites. I'll take Kansas to win and cover against the Jamie Dixons.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? So there's some wagering stuff. In case you missed it, South Carolina, a good portal day for the Gamecocks as they have added a couple of folks in the portal. Good day. Carter Miller, a center from Central Florida, has one more year eligibility. Jordan Thomas, interior defensive lineman from Georgia, played 2 years at Georgia, I believe. So there's multiple years of eligibility left there for Thomas in the interior. So 2 gets in the portal, losing 1 in Jalen Brown, the edge that transferred him from Missouri, has hit the portal, so he will leave South Carolina as well. So that's the way the day went. Nationally, the big news, John Harbaugh, 18 years as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, either fired, agreed to part company with the Ravens, whatever the case. John Harbaugh will be the top candidate for some openings in the NFL, and the Ravens will now be looking for a head coach for the first time in almost 20 years. We are done. Finish history down the road. Thanks for hanging out with us. Whether you did it, just listen to the radio, on YouTube, on the app, whatever, streaming. Jalen, nice work, my friend, keeping us on the air.
Thank you.
All right, we'll do this again tomorrow, the post-game show. And we, again, nothing but good wishes to our buddy Jay Phillips going through his final round of chemo today. We'll talk to Jay most likely on Thursday. Have a good night. We'll talk to you. By the way, Gamecocks basketball at 6:30. We talk all the time about Kreger Showrooms, The Nest, formerly The Nest, on Gadsden in the Vista. Again, almost 100 years of experience. And if you this year, for New Year's, for 2026, want to just redo some things for your home, whether it's maybe you want to add new appliances, maybe you want to get a fancy new refrigerator, or stove, oven, microwave, nice little place to put the wine, whatever you want to do, call the folks with 100 years of experience. Kreger Showrooms, formerly The Nest, 803-978-2025. Set an appointment, go in, tell them your budget, your vision. They'll walk you around the greatest showroom in the history of showrooms, and then they'll sit you down and get it done for you to make you happy. 803-978-2025, Kreger Showrooms in the Vista. Give them a call. Set up your home for 2026.